Welcome back to the channel. Today, this is going to be another one of those unscripted videos. Think of it like a podcast where I talk about what I really want to say and basically just tell you guys what's been on my mind recently because we've been talking about Phrolova a lot, both in the community page, on my Twitter page, on my YouTube videos, on my shorts. Phrolova has been like the center of attention on my channel. And, well, honestly, she's a really important character in the Wuthering Waves 2.5 and, well, Wuthering Waves as a whole. So I think it's important that we talk about her a bit more and clarify all the confusion that's been happening recently. Especially when I made that last video about Gacha Smack's reaction, or like initial thoughts about the 2.5 story, and he went into like it was basically like a 25 minutes video, and I extended it into an hour-long video where I analyzed everything and spoke about my opinion about the subject, etc., etc. Basically, today I'm going to talk about some of the points that I previously made that were wrong, and some of the points that I made that I recently discovered, some new information that I recently discovered, and I want to share with you guys right now on today. So, without any further ado, let's just begin. And to start, I want to talk about the actual life story of Phrolova, because this is a matter of importance when we're talking about a villain, an enemy, that we understand where they're coming from and what they actually do, so that we can actually judge their character correctly. Because I've seen a lot of people pointing fingers, saying like horrendous shit that has no basis on reality whatsoever, that Phrolova committed war crimes, that she is a mass murderer, that she is an enemy of Christ, that she's basically, they've tried to paint her as this demon that like doesn't have a shred of human decency, that doesn't care about human life, that doesn't understand human life, like Rover said in the 2.5 story. But so like to get to this debate, to get into this idea, I think it's cool to talk about what actually happened to Phrolova from day one, from what we know so far. Okay, let's start with this. So first things first. Phrolova was a normal girl. She was not a resonator, she wasn't anyone special, she was just a normal girl that had an ambition for music, that you'd like to play violin, and trained as a conductor with her village people. This village is called Ostina. We don't know for sure where it is on the map nowadays. My guess is that it's in Lelyland, but I'm not sure. There's no confirmation, there's no official source on this. It's the only place in Rinascita I don't think we have visited yet, so in the future, if we ever go there, we might come across the stage where she once performed. We don't know. Anyways, Ostina was a village where a bunch of people, like there was like a majority of the place is about music and about art and about that kind of stuff. That's why Phrolova, when she took up music, when she took up arts, and when she studied music, when it was time for her first concert, her mother was against it. She was like, "No, don't go. You can do other things in your life." That's what basically happened. Her mother was against the idea of her going into the music field of work. But like Phrolova was so passionate about this subject that when her mom tried to deny her that desire of hers, she yelled at her and said something she regrets to this day. Something vile. She probably said some words she didn't mean at all, out of anger, out of spite, out of frustration with her mom not understanding her desire. So she said something horrible and then ran away from home and went to the concert anyways. The concert went well. Everything went well. She came back to the village. The people welcomed her. They talked to her. They tried, and like her mom was touched by her mom actually didn't like hate her or anything. She actually even made like some fruit or like a basket of food for her, so that when she comes back, she's like, they can make like they can but like bury the past and like talk about it and just get things done with, because it's a mother and her daughter. Obviously they don't want to be at odds at all times. So the problem is, on that very day, on that moment she returned, before like any of the celebrations can happen, or before any of the festivities can begin, the meteor struck. The meteor hit the place. It's completely decimated Ostina. It's completely destroyed the entire town, and it's killed everyone. There is no survivors. No one survived from that town. Even Frolova herself, she died. She actually died. When she died, her resonance awakening happened as a resonator. That's the point where she became a resonator. First and foremost, she gained her abilities as a resonator, being able to control frequencies, and she also saw a glimpse of the beyond. This is the realm, the actual, the greater beyond. Because like right now this is a bit confusing because the game doesn't really go into this in much detail. But what we know for sure is that there's two beyonds. Generally there's two beyonds. There is the sonorosphere, which she crafts later on in her life, using her own resonance skill and the Fluxidus and Order resources. And there is the Lost Beyond. I'm gonna refer to the Lost Beyond as the Greater Beyond because it's the actual afterlife where all frequencies converge. That is when Frolova met Hecate. That is when Hecate merged with her and caused her body to undergo a Tacet Discord mutation. She didn't actually become half Tacet Discord or anything like that. It's just her body took on the abilities of Hecate and became basically like a Tacet Discord body. The way the game doesn't really go into detail because, well, it's kind of just filler content. It's not really important, but it's important to make this distinction. She's not actually a half Tacet Discord, half a human. She wasn't actually merged. Her body underwent a mutation. This is what happens. You can see this information in the analysis, a resonator analysis of her abilities. You can see that her body underwent a mutation. And her eye color changed. So after that, what she gained as powers is the ability to conduct, which means to manipulate and edit all the frequencies around her, and the ability to control and hear me out. The ability to control and see and feel and hear the dead. She can see, she can hear, she can listen to them speak and lament and cry in pain. As all those people around her died horrifically. Do you know like what's the worst way a human can die? It's through burning. And do you know how much heat a meteor strike can actually generate in such a small area? That must have been an excruciating pain. Those people around her, the screams she heard, the cries she heard, must have been like nightmarish. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That shit must have been like beyond traumatizing. When she woke up and like regained consciousness and found out that she was still alive, or came back to life more accurately, and that her body was healing, and she was looking around, seeing everything around her crumble and burn. She heard their cries and she heard their suffering, and she looked down at the water below. Well, it's kind of symbolic, not really water. She looked down at the reverberations around her and she sees them still there. They're still yearning to live more. They don't want to die yet. This wasn't the way they planned to die. And so she reached out and, on pure instinct, absorbed all of their frequencies into her body. All of those people in the village became part of who she is. Her body. They merged with her own body. And so during the next few years, she was able to hear them, see them, well, not really see them, but like see their frequencies sometimes in her own mind, and like communicate with them, technically speaking. Even though they're just frequencies, they're not, to her, in her mind, they're still alive. They can talk to her, they communicate with her. So, in her efforts to revive them, so she took on this oath and she was like, look guys, I promise you guys, I'm gonna bring you back to life. I survived, it must be a sign, I'm going to bring you guys back to life. I can't let everyone like that I've ever known die, especially when her own mom's frequency is probably still in there somewhere. But she doesn't have the face to face her after what she said to her all those years. So she has to like bring her back as a way to make up to her mother. Okay, so after all this, she made this promise to those people and went on this journey. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna search for a way to revive you guys, wish me luck. And she went. The first thing she ever did was hit the faith. Immediately she like probably ran off to Septimont or Renacit or like Raguna to join the faith as an acolyte. Immediately. She prayed to the Sentinel, she used her powers for good, she probably healed a lot of sick people through her powers, she probably created, probably like dealt with diseases, probably like fixed echoes, did all kinds of good things. But her prayers went unanswered. The Sentinel, aka Imperator, was fused with Leviathan, he couldn't answer prayers. And and the Order was using her to continuously using her, saying like the divine will answer, just give us more of your power, heal this person, heal this echo, fix this problem, do this, do that. She wasn't buying it. It never happened. Her faith never paid off. The Sentinel never answered her prayers. And so she abandoned it. She abandoned the faith and went to science. Because there's two parts of, humans always think in two ways. There is logic and there is belief. There is faith and there is science. So she went to science. And what's the biggest organization around that can possibly dabble in the ability to resurrect someone who is dead? I wonder what. Well, there is the Court of Cervantes. The Court of Cervantes is an organization that researches immortality. Probably through any ways possible. They're always chasing immortality. We see them in Mount Firmament using the abilities of the Sentinel, as in the frequencies, the distortion, the temporal distortions around Mount Firmament. They use them to basically stay there and live forever because the time is stopped and they don't have to worry about it anymore. So they also build the Minglong. Is it the Minglong? I'm pretty sure it's called the Minglong Chamber. The Minglong Chamber for the Sentinel to stay alive for those temporal distortions not to go away. She went to the Court of Cervantes in Renacita, and guess what? She told them she wants to resurrect these people, like in her body, like that she has their frequencies and she wants to resurrect them. Is there any way, any possible way? They scoffed at her and laughed. To them, this idea was completely outlandish. There is no way you can bring someone back from the dead, because once you're dead, that's it. It's over. Because in the world of Wuthering Waves, in the world of Solaris, when you die, your frequency gets distorted forever, and you basically cannot return to life. That's the norm. That's the knowledge, the common knowledge that everyone has. At least the scientists have. But Phrolova, to herself, when she asked those people inside of her mind, when she asked Triss in The Lost Beyond later, Triss says she doesn't feel any difference. She says she's fine. I don't feel any difference. It's all good, it's all okay, I still want to come back to life, please revive us, I want to sing, I want to dance, I want to live again. And same with us, the other people in there, they don't feel any difference, they feel fine, they just want to live, happily again. So, to Phrolova herself, this is not true. To herself, she was looking at these people, talking to them, communicating to them, and they respond back in the same way as they always did. So their frequencies didn't feel distorted. They didn't, and like, you'd think that as a person who can manipulate frequencies, as a person who has the ability to conduct the frequencies of the world, she would be able to tell if a frequency was distorted or not, right? Especially when she has like all these other people around her who are still alive, and she can sense their frequencies, and she can tell that those frequencies are alive, and there's this one who is dead, but it also feels the same way. She would be able to tell. So to her, this observation made by the Court of Cervantes about a frequency distorting upon death makes no sense. So she tried to go in there and like use their facilities and stick around with them, maybe like learn from them a little bit. But all they do in the end is use her body because it's immortal. Her body became immortal upon her mutation. She can't age, she cannot die. And her body continuously heals from any wound that happens to her. She always heals straight up immediately. So they take her, they even imprison her and like start experimenting on her bodies. Who knows what kind of experiments they conducted on her or what kind of twisted bullshit they did to her. But it is said in an out of game journal that you can find on the Wuthering Waves Twitter page that she needed rescue from a scandal that happened in their HQ, in their research facility. She needed to be rescued from them to the point. I mean, that's crazy, right? Like, there has to have something crazy must have happened over there, like inside of that building, so to the point that she needed rescue. But anyways, after all that, after like failing at faith, after science failed her, she turned to the occult. What is the occult? The wave-worn phenomenon, right? The wave-worn phenomenon is the occult of the Solaris world. It's the Threnodian, the laments, the negative emotions, the wave-worn phenomenon. That's basically all. That's the occult of this world. So after the doctors failed her, after the faith failed her, she turned to the evil, to the quote unquote evil, to the lament. So she went to study the wave-worn phenomenon. She went to like some people in another village, and she asked them, "Hey guys, do you guys know about the wave-worn phenomenon? Can you does anyone here know about like this specific subject? Anyone help me with this? I want to learn more about it. I want to be able to comprehend it." But they see, obviously they're justified for this. The wave-worn phenomenon is always associated with evil, with a lament, with death, with blight. So obviously they're gonna be afraid of this subject. They're not gonna want to help a person who wants to harness this power. So but like this, their reaction is also pretty extreme. They physically hurt her and they chase her out of the village. That's pretty crazy. That's considering all the pressure she had already going on, and all this probably breaks a person to see like another, like people whom they remind you of your own village, because it's another village. Those people probably like are alive and can die at some point, and they would be dead, they would be gone, but like they're rejecting this very idea that could potentially help them in the future as well. So after she's been chased out, she's been ostracized by society, she's been failed by the Sentinel, failed by the scientists. Now what does she do? She doesn't ask for help anymore. She goes into a seclusion, she starts researching on her own, trying everything on her own, doing her own thing. But she keeps failing, not learning anything, not getting anywhere near being able to succeed. Her hope keeps dwindling and dwindling, until she eventually literally just gave up. She gave up. She stopped looking. She stopped searching. She put on the black dress. The moment she put on the black dress means that she was going to mourn. She accepted those people are going to die, and like there's no way to bring them back, and that's why she put on the black dress, to mourn their deaths. So when she put on this black dress and went back to her village, where they have already forgotten that village existed at some point. It was already long forgotten by then. So many years have passed that the village was turned into a concert hall, into a theater. And so she went to that theater, signed in to like become a musician again. She wanted to like return to the music, like to make a piece, to like offer a final gift to these people that she's going to lose anyways. And she went in, she made this music, she like sang, she used the violin, she orchestrated a piece. And who was in that concert? Who was in the the tour of mourning, the very start of the tour? Rover. Master Arbiter was there. Previous Rover, last cycle Rover was there. And what does he do? When she finishes the sad piece, everyone claps. Everyone thinks, "Wow, this is a great song, greatly conducted, well done, good job, bravo." And then she looks at Rover and he's not clapping, meaning that he understood that something, this song came from somewhere, and he himself says so. This song is too sad to be. It's too real, too specific. It's not just something someone can come up with on the spot. So she goes to him and asks him why he didn't clap, and you guys have seen the conversation. They talk, they bond, he understands her, she understands him, he gives her the advice, look, and this is an important part, a very pivotal moment in her life. Before this, she had given up, she was done, she wore the black dress, she was going to mourn these people and move on with her life. Everything was a dead end. It seemed her goal was impossible, so she gave up. And now she met Rover, right? She met Rover, and he told her, well, you know, all that sadness, all that despair, it could be the beginning of something new, right? And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, you can start over like I do. Like I always do, start over. It's fine. You just need a new perspective in your life, and you can do anything basically. And she's like staring at him like, huh? Wait, this is a good idea. Maybe I haven't thought of that. Maybe it was too early of me to give up all hopes of like reviving my people. Maybe there is still like another way. I just need to like keep looking and maybe change my perspective a bit, because I've been looking at things the wrong way this entire time. There's a chance to bring them back anyways. And so Rover like makes this promise to her. He's like, look, this piece is beautiful, but once you get once you finish it, once you like are done with this song of yours, I'm gonna come back to hear it all. So promise, I'll be there next time you're up on the stage and like making like airing this completed piece. At this point, there was no Lost Beyond. There was no, not Lost Beyond. There was no Sonorous Sphere. There was no Fractsidus. There was no deaths. There was no blood on her hands. She was completely innocent. She has nothing. She has done nothing wrong so far. So, so when Rover tells her to start over and like get a new perspective, and makes a promise to come back when she finishes the piece, it's very implied from this dialogue that he will come back in her next concert. Otherwise, why would she wait for him? Because in game, she says she waited for him in every single one of her concerts during the tour of mourning. I'm gonna call this a tour of mourning from here on out because it was her in the black dress mourning the deaths of her people. But then, like when Rover gave her this hope, she was she made up her mind to not like give up hope after all. Started doing more and more more and more concerts in hopes to meet him again. So like the next concert he didn't come. The concerts after it he didn't come. There's like 4 or 5 concerts where she performed the full piece because she has completed it by this point. She has performed the full piece, and he didn't come there to listen to it. So. She felt devastated. This one person who ever comprehended her, who like gave her a piece of his mind, and who listened to her laments and cries and suffering, and was like and gave her genuine advice that maybe not all hope is lost, maybe you should start over, is now gone from her life and didn't fulfill his promise. Obviously, she's devastated. She's sad. She's completely and utterly destroyed. Both mentally and physically. She's tired. And this person, if Rover came back, he could have offered this other perspective. He is the master arbiter after all. He has the Black Shores at his disposal. He has the Sentinels at his disposal. He has everything she could possibly want. If he just came back, if he just fulfilled that promise, everything would have been different. But no, he didn't come back. Instead, in her last concert, after which she would have basically just given up hope and just surrendered, she was met with the energetic watcher, or whatever they call him, the enigmatic watcher or whatever, the Grand Architect in disguise. And he, just like that, with the flick of her wrist, grants her everything she could possibly, grants her more progress than everyone before him ever did. He showed her Triss, and he told her, well, there's more where that came from. Just come join my organization. We're gonna give you books, we're gonna give you information, we're gonna give you history, we're gonna give you technology, we're gonna give you manpower. You just have to join us, and we're gonna give you whatever the hell you want. Just keep trying, don't give up, you'll eventually do it. A new perspective came to her on a silver platter with the Fractsidus. And while at that point she was completely in the bottom of the ocean, she was at the Mariana Trench. She had nothing else to do. She had nowhere else to go. She was cooked, both mentally and physically. So when this invitation came, it was basically just a godsend. It gave her hope. It gave her a place to go to. It gave her a mission. It gave her purpose. And so she had nothing else to do, so she chose to join them because no one else would help her. Nothing else would have mattered. Because no matter what she did, no matter what else she would do, nothing would have worked. Faith didn't help her, science didn't help her, occult didn't help her, so she turned to the only other thing that came to her, which is the Fractsidus. So she joined them, and what happened after that, because this is the moment where the story just completely skips over the parts and doesn't really tell you what happened when she joined the Fractsidus. But if you own Phrolova, if you pulled her and you have leveled up her intimacy, you can see her thoughts and what happened with the Fractsidus from her character lines. In the character line, she's described as one of the oldest Overseer members, meaning she's been there for a very long time. She's been there for so long that her flag that is hanged in the with the other Overseers' flags in the Fractsidus HQ has faded in its color and lost its red color and became white from how old it is. So the fact that she's very old, and she's also described as being the most inactive, or one of the most inactive Fractsidus Overseers in all of the Fractsidus. She doesn't do anything for them, she doesn't help them, she doesn't support them, unless they threaten to kick her out. Unless she's basically going to be kicked out. Her position in the organization is threatened, then she actually takes on missions just to reinforce that position, just to not be kicked out and not lose their support. And when she does that mission, she's described as being quick and precise. She immediately goes for the heart of the target, she kills them, leaves. There's no torture, no mass murder, nothing of that sort is ever mentioned. She just goes for her target, the target that they give her, she kills them immediately and leaves. Disappears again for God knows how long. Even when the Fractsidus were doing their experiments, Phrolova is described as a bystander. She's not participating in the experiment, she just watches them happen in hopes of learning something, in which case, and that hope doesn't come true. Because she's also described as arriving late at night to browse the research papers of the Fractsidus, read through them, and then put them back in disappointment because she didn't find what she's looking for. She learned nothing from the Fractsidus. The Fractsidus gave her nothing. They didn't support. All they give her is a place to belong to, and influence, because they're a very influential faction who was able to get in contact with the Order and was able to. They're basically everywhere. They're all around Solaris, and so being one of their overseers, she has a little bit of leeway whenever she's traveling around, at the cost of also being a criminal. But that's not the point. The point is, she's described as very, very inactive and very not ruthless. She only does missions whenever her position in the organization is threatened. Meaning that her only goal, her only need from the Fractsidus is their support. She just needs their support. She's using them for her own goal. They're not using her to commit mass murder or whatever. She's just using them for her own goals. She doesn't align with their ideals. Well, technically, she kind of does, but not really. She doesn't care for their plans. Basically, she doesn't care for Christopher's plan. She hates Scar's guts. She openly admits that the Grand Architect is using her, and so she's using him too. They don't have any shared purpose at the end. They're all just connected by a web of shared interests, and they all work together just to share, to using each other, basically. They're not really doing anything in coordination, or because they have friendship, or because they agree with one another necessarily. So, as she joins the Fractsidus, we talked about her life in the Fractsidus. Now let's talk about what happened when the game began. When we see her in Huanlong in 1.0. What did she do there? What was she doing there with Scar? Now, many of us back then, in 1.0, we thought they were, oh my god, they're evil. They're going to resurrect the Threnodian and destroy all of Jinzo, and that was their goal. And so we stopped them and we won. Well, no, buddy. That wasn't their goal whatsoever. We were all tricked. We were all deceived. Resurrecting the Threnodian was never meant to happen. They were never fully going to resurrect Ovathrax. If they wanted to resurrect Ovathrax, both her and Scar were going to defend the resting place of Ovathrax together. Why would they attack Jinzo? Why would they cause all this trouble when all they want to do is resurrect Ovathrax? Scar was lying to us. Scar was tricking us and we fell for it. Because here's the thing, right? In 2.5, the cutscene shows what Scar and Phrolova's goal in Jinzo was. It stated that their real goal was something inside of Jinzo, down below, underneath Jinzo. We don't know what that something is as of the moment. We don't know what it is. We don't know whether they were successful or not in taking it. But what we know for sure is that their goal was just to use the Threnodian and the Retroact Rain to distract Jinzo, distract them by causing Tacit Discord outbreaks all around Huanglong, in which case Jinzo would try to defend against it and leave their backs wide open for Scar and Phrolova to sneak into Jinzo, grab what they need, and dip. Although Scar got captured for whatever reason, I'm not sure if that was intended or not, but whatever. The point being here is, Phrolova wasn't going to massacre those people. She wasn't. Her summoning TDs and weaving the Retroact Train and stirring the Ovathrax was never going to be a massacre. In fact, even if Jinzo was overrun and completely destroyed, which was never going to happen, by the way, even if that did happen, all the civilians were evacuated. All of them were already out of Jinzo and safe somewhere protected. They were never going to die. So if Phrolova's goal was to kill those civilians because she's so evil and so bad, then she would have known they were evacuated and would have attacked the evacuated civilians instead of Jinzo. The point being here is that the entire Wave 1 phenomenon, the entire Retroact Rain, the entire Tacit Discords being summoned, and Dreamless being awakened was all but a distraction, a feint for Jinzo to be distracted with, just for Phrolova and Scar to sneak in, grab what they need, and leave. Now, the next part we see her is in Mount Firmament. And this is very important, right? If Phrolova was so evil, if Phrolova is so bad and so unredeemable and doesn't care about human life, you see, Jinsei was alone at the very start of Mount Firmament, and Phrolova was there with all the Fractidus members. Jinsei was alone, she was weak, she was suffering, and the Sentinel was weakened, he was damaged, he was hiding in the Minglong chamber. Phrolova being there, she could have easily killed Jinsei, and she could have easily killed the Sentinel. She could have destroyed all of Huanglong, because all of Jinzo, at least, and Mount Firmament, because they don't have a Sentinel to protect them anymore, and Jinsei would be dead. So no second awakening. But she didn't. She didn't attack Jinsei. She didn't even participate in the events of the Mount Firmament. He just sat there and listened to. She probably spied on Rover as Zhuwei was telling him about his past, and that's why she said she collected a lot of wonderful notes about them, because now she has confirmed for absolute certainty that they are the Master Arbiter, and they did in fact wipe their memories and send themselves forward in time. And this is the point where things started to add up. So, first and foremost, there was no massacre at Jinzo. There was no massacre at Mount Firmament. She didn't torture anyone. She didn't kill anyone. Well, not necessarily kill anyone, but there was no massacre. There was no genocide. There was nothing of the sort. And in Renacita, It's so funny that a lot of people miss this part. In Raguna, when she before like the finale, before she summons the whale and all that stuff happens, we actually meet her in Raguna, and she talks to the rover, and she tells him she was invited here as a conductor to a great play. She was invited here. She's here because she's invited by Fenrico. Remember, the Order and the Flacidus have had a deal going all this time. They're working together in the Fabricatorium and in Raguna. They're not. They were not enemies. She was here because Fenrico summoned her, and because of Cristoforo's plan being kicked into play. And so that whale was never going to crash into the city because it would destroy. It would pose a danger to the Order as well. And that's not what the Order wants. They don't want to be like destroyed. They don't want to lose like their members. They don't want to kill people, their own people that they're managing. So like that whale was never going to crash into the city. What Phrolova did is make a show, a great display, so that Rover wins and becomes the laureate, so that he can hear Cartithia's voice and the Sentinel's voice, so that he can go to Avinolium and let Cartithia out. So that when Cartithia is out, she can have her second awakening, and Cristoforo's plan can come into fruition, so that they can revive Leviathan in Cartithia's body. Do you guys understand? She didn't commit genocide. That was all a play, and we all fell for it. We all fell for it. She tricked us, and we all fell for it. And here's the thing, right? In Septimont, let's talk about Septimont now. She assists Rover, but that was also a part of Cristoforo's plan. She didn't do that out of the goodness of her heart. I agree. But in Flames of the Deep, this is a very important moment of the quest, of Septimont as a whole. This is where we first find out a bit more about like who Phrolova really is as a person and what she does as outside of Fraxis' business. So we find her in this. These two people who are both gladiators of Septimont. One is a father, the other one's a daughter. The father was corrupted by the Dark Tide, and he became a Tacit Discord, a Kerasaur, or whatever the hell they called him, and he was going to kill his daughter. And she didn't want to fight back because she doesn't want to kill her father either. So what does Phrolova do? Phrolova saves Verbia, the girl. Why would she do that? When Verbia asks her why she saved her, what does Phrolova say? She says that a daughter just lost her father. There is no need for a father to lose his daughter too. Think about this. Think about this for a moment. This is her exact situation. Phrolova, her entire family, her entire surroundings died and got destroyed, and she was left alone. She survived alone. And so she couldn't move on. She felt survivor's guilt, and the fact that she could see them, hear them, and realize that they want to be brought back, made her think, made her not want to move on, and made her go on this entire journey to revive them. And so this other girl, right? This other girl just lost her father and was given a second chance at life. And so Phrolova is looking at her expectantly, waiting to see what she's going to do. Is she actually going to move on with her life and just leave her father behind? Is she brave enough? Is she braver than Phrolova is, to let go of the past and just move on with her life? No, she wasn't. She made the exact same mistake. She asked Phrolova, "Save my father, please. I want him to have an honorable end. We are Septimontians. We fall in battle. I want him to survive, no matter what. I want him to be conscious when he dies." And so Phrolova is like, "Well, I mean, sure, hell. Well, who am I to tell you what to do? I'm also the same way. I'm also like you. I also cannot move on while my people want to come back to life. I also want to bring them back to life. And you want to fulfill your dying father's wishes, so who am I to stop you? So she gives her the thing. She tells her, look, you have to withstand the dark tide. So as long as you withstand the dark tide, your father is going to be alive and conscious. And that's how this. That means that Frolova, that means that Frolova respects life. She respects the girl's decision because she understands it. She understands the meaning of life. She knows that the father wants to be given an honorable end and respects his wishes. So she gives him the most honorable end anybody on Solaris can hope for, which is to die to the Lord Arbiter's blade. Anyways, the point here I'm making is Frolova really knows, she really understands the value of human life. It's not her fault that she came I'm not gonna say that she's not completely at fault. Even at the worst moment of your life, you always have a choice. You always are able to make a decision. But to Frolova, A, she wasn't mentally stable. B, she isn't normal. C, she literally sees and hears the dead. And D, she is completely hopeless. She's completely broken. And the Grand Architect's manipulation pulled her into the dark side. The dark side, yes. So what's part of this is her fault. So the very fact that she's trying to make her kills as few as possible and reduce the amount of casualties she's causing, to be as the least amount of casualties needed, means that she understands and values human life. That's why she wants to bring those people back. That's why and not just her people, by the way. This is another common misconception. Right? This is another common misconception. The Beyond wasn't made just for her people. It's not just for the villagers. The Beyond was made with the goal for all of humanity to be able to come back at some point. To come back, whether as humans merged with Tacit Discords, or as Tacit Discords, I'm not sure, but her plan is to bring them back with their memories, with their minds, with their soul intact. So, here's the thing. The Beyond was made for all of humanity, and so this is her goal. The fact that she's trying to, she's trying to reduce her casualties. She's trying not to. She even saves a life. She even saves lives multiple times in her lifetime. She goes through. She doesn't participate in the factitious experiments, doing her own instead that are we don't know for sure what she was experimenting on. We don't even know if those people are alive or if they're just fading reverberations, in which case, like Rover says, those people are not alive, they're dead. And so they are not even human, they're Tacit Discords. So the point I'm making here is this, okay? Pavlova isn't evil. She's not a villain in the sense that she wants to do evil because for the sake of it being evil. Her goal, if it ever comes to fruition, would immediately erase all the evil things she did. All the people that died can be brought back because the Beyond is able to grant resurrection. But the fact that it didn't happen, it didn't come to fruition, her plan didn't work, and frankly, I'll be honest with you, it was never going to work because the Renodian isn't a divinity. The Renodian, the Dark Tide isn't a thing you can harness, isn't a thing you can trust, it isn't consistent, it's chaotic. At any moment in her plan, that thing could have spiraled out of control and caused a disaster. But the point I'm making is, her goal is noble, her method's questionable, but she isn't evil. She isn't doing this for the sake of it being evil. She's trying to do good through questionable methods. And that brings me to this part, right? That brings me to the present day. What happened to Pavlova now? Okay? Pavlova, after the events of 2.5, is not dead. She's nowhere near dead. And here is why. First and foremost, for those of you who claim that her body is dead and that she's just a frequency like the villagers, I'm going to have to point to what Rover said. The villagers, he referred to them as dead, and they cannot and will never come back to life. But to Phrolova, he says she's alive. What's the difference between Phrolova and the villagers if they're both the same? Phrolova has a physical body while the villagers do not. It's as simple as that. Phrolova lives, her body is fine, although the Beyond merged with it. Now it's a little bit different, but if she still has a physical body, she can still leave the general, not really leave the Beyond, but like, it's kind of complicated because the Beyond is now part of her physical body, and the reason we see her as a phantom at the end of the 2.5 story is because we literally enter her body under the ocean. Her body is like currently under the sea, and we we enter it through the portal, and we are able to see all the frequencies inside, including her own. So she's fine, she's alive, her body's alive. It's the way Abby makes a comment about it having a pulse, about the Beyond beating to someone's pulse, meaning that Phrolova's body itself is alive and her heart is still beating. Otherwise, well, let's also add this in just to help you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Otherwise, the Beyond wouldn't be able to exist because the Beyond itself is an extension of her resonance ability. And for a resonance ability to work, the person needs to be a resonator. And for a resonator to be a resonator, they need a tacet mark. And the tacet mark is on their body. Okay? Anyways, the point being here is Phrolova is alive. When she fell into the water, when she apologized, the apology wasn't directed at Rover, unlike what many of you might be saying. I don't know why you would say that. Rover wasn't even able to hear the apology. Her apology isn't directed at Rover. Her apology is directed at her people, whom she failed to save after this many years, and now she's coming back to them in the Beyond and seeing them again face to face for the first time in God knows how long, without being able to actually resurrect them like she promised. And so this is the thing, right? This is the thing, right? Phrolova apologizes to her people and for losing the gem. I'm gonna tell you this as well. Cristoforo wasn't meant to be there. Cristoforo didn't show up to escort her out. He showed up to make sure she wasn't going to use the gem for her own. And we know from her dialogue with the Rover that she was in fact going to betray the Fractsidus. Well, betray between quotes, because she was never actually serving them to begin with. She was never loyal to them to begin with. She was just using them as they were using her, as she has said multiple times by now. She was planning to use the gem right there and then on the Beyond to make it a place of true rebirth and execute her plan. But Cristoforo showing up made Rover think that she was lying to him. And that's why he was so upset that he actually just acted decisively, and he thought that she was going to run away with Cristoforo. So he threw his sword at her to like toss to like get rid of the gem, or like throw it out of her hand or something like that. But instead it pierced her heart. So yeah. The point here is Cristoforo's appearance was the thing that ruined her plan. Otherwise, well, I would say that Rover would have still attempted to stop her, but I don't think he would have had as critical of a reaction as he had when Cristoforo showed up and put him on the spot. Because then he thought, well, holy shit, he just got back up, she's going to turn around and leave, and I'm going to be stuck here at the bottom of the sea with no way out, and with like they're gonna have the gem. They're gonna probably do a bit sinister things with it, and I'm gonna be basically cooked. So he just threw his sword at her in desperation, and it did hit her sadly and drop her down in the water. Now that water is normal seawater, by the way. I've seen this theory again. I've seen it like in the comment section before. That water is not energy water or like the Lumen Tower, whatever the heck you want to call it, the corrupted frequencies water. It's just normal salt seawater. Nothing bad about it. She just fell into it and sank down to the bottom. Nothing bad happened to her body. We know we don't need to breathe as resonators because, well, we literally swam through those tunnels for hours on end. And like, I'm gonna say hours, but at least like long minutes of swimming and talking underwater without needing to breathe. So I'm gonna guess that Phrolova doesn't need to breathe, so her body is fine, and her merging with the beyond caused it to heal. So here's the part where I wanna get to right now. Here's like the conclusion of all this. What's gonna happen next? Okay? Because last time I made the video with Gacha Smack, I was completely mistaken about one thing. Because before that, I was 100% certain that the frequencies and the beyond were fading. And I think they would have still been fading if the beyond was still not part of her body. Because I think it's her body that gives the properties, that gives the beyond the property of it being an eternal place where frequencies don't decay. Because now, after everything that had happened, after everything that had occurred, in the Midnight podcast that dropped recently, where Phrolova talks to the rover in earnest, where there's no barriers between them, there's no danger being posed, there are no stakes that matter, just her talking her heart out to him. She tells him that she's not stopping her research. She's going to find another way. He's going to keep looking. The world is vast, and there's always going to be a method to bring back a wandering soul into the world. The problem now is, the only difference now is that Rover is keeping an eye on her, and he knows her very well, and he understands her motives and motivations. So he promises to keep an eye on her in the in-game. He tells her that I'm going to keep an eye on you and the villagers so that you don't go off the deep end again or do something crazy again. So she's going to continue her research under his supervision. And she says they might fight again, they might clash again, but it's not going to be to kill one another or to be, to pose a genuine threat to one another. It's just going to be because their ideals are clashing, they're at odds in the thought process, in a matter of thought process. So with this Midnight podcast at our hand, we know that she has infinite time. That means the frequencies aren't actually decaying. And that Rover actually chose to let them be. Which is really funny, considering they're not humans, and they're tacit discords, and that she shouldn't be turning them into tacit discords, and that they will never come back to life, and all that jazz before, yet in the end he still lets her do what she wants. So yeah, here's the thing, right? I think Rover is regretful of his action. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I think Rover feels a deep regret for what he said, and he realizes that his tongue might have slipped, he might have said a bunch of hurtful words when he didn't understand her correctly. He didn't understand her correctly, and I'm pretty sure that he really regrets throwing that sword at her and quote unquote killing her, especially when in the photo event, when you go with the acolyte of the faith of the order to the fabricatorium and take pictures of the area, you can find a note, and the acolyte basically says that, wow, this woman must have been crazy, this woman must have been like someone evil, that must have been like a crazy plan. And Rover's response is, no, she wasn't. This was probably her final show of weakness, meaning that she was basically just, this was her trump card. This was her everything. She was putting everything she has there, and being vulnerable to the Rover, to his judgment, to his and challenging his ideals and everything. Okay, I'm starting to like lose my voice here from talking too much, so let me just summarize what I'm going to say after this. Rover keeps his eyes on her in the beyond while she continues her research. She also can come back to life. She can come back to the real world, because, well, how is she going to conduct her research in a realm of dreams where she doesn't have access to anything physical? And Rover actually makes this comment in the game universe where he says, even if you're not here personally, it's fine. I'll still come take a look at the villagers and make sure they're fine. So so I think she's 100% able to exit the beyond. She's 100% going to come back in the future. We just don't know when, how, or why. And I'm pretty sure that she's not going back to the Fractsidus either. I think that that train has long passed because she didn't get anything from them except, well, authority, I guess, and the privilege of being an overseer of the Fractsidus. Because their researchers didn't help her, their researchers didn't help her, their resources didn't help her, the Grand Architect didn't help her at the end, he just took the gem and dipped on her. I don't think she has any real reason to go back to them at all, because she gave up on the gem. The Beyond is now destroyed, so it can't function normally like it did before. It's part of her body now, and I highly doubt it still maintains its functions, because the area we visit in the game is called Shards of the Beyond, Fragments of the Beyond, not really the Beyond itself, because the Beyond itself is gone, destroyed. It's no longer in this world. It's only within Frolova's body as a metaphysical place. So yeah, the point I'm making here is Frolova can come back. She's probably gonna go like on her own, or maybe if we're lucky, if the game is if the writers at Kuro actually like want to expand on her potential as a character, Rover might take her to the Black Shores to like maintain her her mental stability, to give her counseling, to give her give her research a proper read through by actual intelligent scientists, not like the people in the court of Cervantes who have dismissed her research as just impossible immediately and didn't really pay attention to her. Anyways, I think that's about all I want to say right now. I don't think there is much else to say, maybe except that Rover didn't. Yeah, I think this is worth mentioning. When Rover made his report to the Black Shores and the Order, and Suzani as well, when he told them about what happened, he never once mentioned a Fractsidus Overseer or mentioned Frolova's name or put her in any risk whatsoever. You can tell bro was being discreet on purpose, not to talk about her, because he doesn't want her to get in trouble, because he sympathizes with her goal and sympathizes with her feelings now after everything that had happened and after all the stakes have been dropped. Now she doesn't pose a threat anymore. He thinks that she might like come around eventually, and that's why he doesn't want to persecute her for her actions, because he understands where she comes from. And I think we should all be able to do that now after everything that had happened. So to capitalize on everything that I've said so far, Frolova isn't evil. Frolova's actions justifiable. Frolova's motives justifiable. Frolova's casualties minimal. Frolova's plan wasn't going to work, but if it did actually work, it would have been a massive step for humankind as a whole, not just for her people. And finally, Frolova is alive, she's well, she's gonna come back in the future, probably. Most likely, actually, because Rover is being discreet about her for a reason, because he doesn't want her to get caught up in the bullshit of the action she took for the Fractsidus. So, anyways, this is all I'm gonna say for now. If you have any comments, if you have any insights into what I'm saying, if you agree or disagree, it's fine. We can disagree. We can talk about it. Just leave a comment down below. Just please try to be respectful. Try to be nice. Like, don't be a dick in the comments. I'll be just lighter with you. There's no need to be a dick. There's no need to be a pain in the ass about it. It's just a character. It's just a game. There's no need to be so offended about it or like call other people names about it. So just behave in the comment section and we'll be fine. We're having fun together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.